Hello guys and welcome to another game programming episode. And in this one we're gonna recreate our greedy snake game with Unreal Engine, but this time with C++. Now to use C++ you have to actually get C++ on your computer. So if you're using Visual Studio, which you probably will be, you have to go open Visual Studio installer. Right, and you have to add C++ if you haven't, right? So make sure that you open the Visual Studio installer, and then if you don't have one, you download Visual Studio Community 2019. Here in the installing stage, or if you have one already, right, you have to go to the modify, but you have to check on those components. So you have to have desktop development with CPP, mobile development with CPP if you're doing mobile, of course, and game development with C++. Okay, those three C++ ones has to be in there. Click on modify to add C++, right? Other than that, you'll be fine. So make sure you do that. Alternatively, you can also use this IDE called Rider for Unreal. Right, this one. Now this is a fantastic IDE, and you can currently it's on early preview. Right, it's planned to be released in next year. It's really smart with Unreal. It's able to see all the Unreal macros. It's able to understand the conventions, and it's even doing those include header files on top for you automatically, so you don't have to include anymore. You just type in the class type, and when it sees you need to include something, it's going to include that for you. Right, very convenient. It's making C++ feels like C# on some level. So this is a must-have I think for many developers with Unreal Engine. Right, this is just making things so much faster, like so much faster. Alternatively, if you want to stick with Visual Studio, you can use this tool called Visual Assist. From Whole Tomato. Of course, Rider is not free. I think when it's actually released, it's gonna cost you $18 a month. So not bad, right? Not really a lot. And Visual Assist is $99 for like a whole license, and you can use it forever until Visual Studio updates to a newer version. That's when it get out of date. But it does support Unreal Engine also quite nicely. It's able to understand also the convention of Unreal Engine, the macros, and also it's able to do IntelliSense much better than Visual Studio itself. Okay, so to me, I'm using Visual Assist. I think it does slightly better on some things I like than Rider, but Rider is fantastic. It just looks really cool, and it's able to give you a lot of hints when you're building C++ with Unreal Engine, right? So either Rider or Visual Assist with Visual Studio. I can't recommend to do it C++ coding without those things. It's just the raw Visual Studio is just really slow compared to the other two plugins. Okay, right. So you can see I have Visual Assist myself, right? Anyway, so you probably are wondering, okay, why C++? Isn't it an old language? It is old. It's 40 years old actually. Right? 40 years ago. That's a long time. It's almost half of a century. But don't let that fool you though. C++, the first version of C++ is 40 years old, but the current version of C++ is fairly new, right? They keep updating it, just like software like Maya, ZBrush. ZBrush 1.0 is old. It's unrecognizable. Let's take a look at that. Oh, I can't really find it. Maybe first version of ZBrush. Right? Now this is not recognizable, right? But ZBrush 2021 is a completely different software, right? Also like Maya, right? Maya 2008 is old, but Maya 2020 is new, right? C++ is the same. The way you program with C++ now is not going to be the same as 40 years ago. If you're doing it the same as 40 years ago, you're doing it wrong, right? So it's not old, and also it's not going anywhere. Right? Now you don't have to take my word for it, right? If you ever wanted to get a job as a game programmer, right, developer in the industry, C++ is probably the requirement. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. Maybe I can search that for you. Let me go to Google. Google. Right, game programming job. Okay, this is near me, so let's look for something more general. Okay, now game programmer, Austin, gaming go, right? Requirement, C++ 2 years, 2 years of engineering experience, right? So that's a requirement. Game programmer here. This is with Unity, so it's C#, but plus is C++. So even for Unity, right? If you're applying for like a Unity programmer job, and on your resume you have C++, and the other guy who is competing with you does not have C++, you have the upper hand, right? So even for Unity developers, C++ is a plus, definitely. Game programmer, C++. Game programmer, C++. General game programmer, C++ or C#. Free to play, don't even know what this is. Video game network programming, guess what? I don't see anything. So yeah, here, C++. Unity programmer has to be C# in this case, right? So when it comes to Unity, of course, because Unity uses C# as its scripting language, but if you go through the list, you don't see much of these. You see more C++, right? It's almost like dominating the whole list. HTML5, which is weird because it's not even a language in this case. Solid C++ or C#, but you can see C++ listed as the first, right? UI programmer, C++. Probably that's because it's maybe Unreal Engine. Yeah, Unreal Engine. Programmer, C++, right? Unreal. Unity developer, right? This has to be C# somewhere. I just don't see it. Game programmer. 2 years of professional experience in C++, mobile game developer, C# and Unity, right? So when it comes to Unity, it's C#. There's no doubt because that's the only language in there, right? But again, C++ is going to be the majorities, as you can see, right? You hardly reached anything that's not a C++. Right here. So, you know, you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to believe anyone else who tells you what, because you have the internet, right? You can search for the truth, okay? And those job listings cannot be lying, right? They cannot be lying. And if you search for like best programming language for games, right? Oh, this is Yahoo search. Let's do Google. Google. For game development. Now guess what? C++ or Java, right? Right? Now you may say one of the posts is biased, but it cannot be all of them, right? If all of them are saying that, that's probably the truth, Okay, so and you can also see, even you like Unreal and you like Blueprint, none of those things are asking for Blueprint. You see no Blueprint is mentioning here, right? So don't think you can do Blueprint and you can get a job. No one is hiring you because you know Blueprint. Now we do use Blueprint, right, when we're developing a game. Those are really helpful things, right? But this is Sony, right? C++. So no one is asking for Blueprint. It's helpful. I use it all the time, right? Epic Games use it all the time. Fortnite use it all the time. But that's not the only thing you will ever need, right? You need for many cases, but C++, it has to be the foundation, right? You just cannot get away with it. You can develop some quite okay game with Blueprint, but when you really need to go deeper and build something more solid, more complicated, you cannot really get around C++. Okay, I think I have said enough. This is 11 minutes already. So we probably will have multiple videos for this because C++ is difficult. So we'll go over the process in the next video. But all you have to do is go Unreal Engine, right? And we go games, blank, and just change that to CPP. Everything else should be just the default setting and just create project. I have one here already. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next video where we'll start coding our game with C++. Okay, see you next time.